Okay, I said I'd do triangle, so I'm gonna do triangle. Um, so I have my black swamp equipment. This beautiful teardrop beater, which is really, really great. I love using this. Um, for those of you who don't know, the teardrop I like because it has the thin end going bigger, so you can do like play soft here, then gradually get to the bigger side to play loud. So I really like having this around just in case. So you don't need like three different triangle beaters, just need one. Um, okay. I said this be real quick, so I'm gonna try to make it real quick. So actually holding the triangle beater is a little, one thing that I feel like people have trouble with because um, the balance is weird because it's so heavy at the end and you need to make sure you have a good handle on it and good control of the beater itself. So the way I do that is to basically, if you play Stevens, I think, this concept of having the stick basically there for one of the mallets, so it's like on your hand almost. Some people don't do that, I know. They have it more like in the middle finger, but I don't really play Stevens. So when I started learning it by myself, I did this way, which worked for a while. So I do a similar thing with the triangle beater that I actually hold it to the point where the back of the pinky or the back of the wrist can connect with the pinky. And if you do that and you hold it or just let it sit on any finger basically, it'll just stay there. So basically you have, it's gonna go with your wrist no matter what because it's connected to the turning point of your wrist. If you have it up here, you have to hold it in place basically, and then you have more weight at the top because of how much stick there is. So if you're holding it up here, you have that much stick. If you're holding it in the back, you have that much stick, which makes it a little more easy to control. So that's the way I do it. I just hold it to the point where it's kind of sitting in some sort of crease in the back of my hand so that it can connect with the back two fingers. So I'm basically holding it from the back like a like kind of drum set style. Yeah, so I do that. So it's sitting in the back, if you can see that. Hi. And then I just put the others, like I'm holding the normal drumstick, and then I just put the others up. And then it moves exactly with my wrist. This might work for you. This is the way I do it, so just another option. Some people hold it, you know, just with the fulcrum, maybe like this or something like that, so you have more motion in the back, almost like a timpani stroke or just a normal drumstick. But me, I like having more control, so and more evenness with the wrist movement, so I hold it back there. Cool. All right. And then actually playing it. I guess it all depends on what kind of sounds you want, so you have to experiment a lot. So playing it flat gives you one sort of sound, and what I mean by flat is like playing it like the triangle beater flat that way. Like that, and then one of the reasons I hold it this way is because I play like this a lot. So I don't play flat as much unless I'm doing a very single note where I just have, you know, where I do that. That's when I'll play flat, but normally I'm always here. Cool. So yeah, so you can play flat. There's a lot of different angles you could do, so I would practice doing it like at every angle. You know, so getting used to playing flat, a little angled, and you got to figure out ways to adjust your, you know, position and approach whenever you change angles. So like when I'm playing flat, I might hold the triangle more up so I can stay in a comfortable position here. And as I move, like when I change the angle, I'd have to change myself. So, so I'll play lower if I'm playing at more of an angle, and I'll move even lower if I'm playing. So I have that going on. So again, it's just learning how to be comfortable and figuring out what's comfortable for you in whatever angle. Other things you can also practice experimenting playing in different areas, not just on the bottom, but also at the top, because that gets a different sound. Same kind of thing, you want to figure out the different angles you can play at. Usually I just play like flat again, I just play flat. So yeah. Oh, getting a consistent sound. So that's the next step. Once you find sounds that you really like, either with a lot of overtones, not so many overtones, or just a pitch, like more of a flat tone. So usually if you're playing flat on the top like here, you're going to get a very more defined tone from the triangle. So I usually play at a slightly an angle. So I play like that and not completely flat. Similarly, some triangles, depending on how you hit it, if you play completely flat, you also get a tone. Although here you get more overtones. So on the bottom here, it's really pitchy. On the bottom here, you still have that pitch, but you have more overtones. So to compensate, I just either give a little angle down here or up here, because I like a lot of overtones. Cool? All right, so once you find a spot that you really like, you need to practice stroke types on that spot. Back to stroke types. So, figure out a full stroke. The trick is when you do all these stroke types, you need to make sure that your grip, your pressure, your throw type, and the throw speed are all the same, or else you're going to get a different sound. So the speed, the grip, the pressure in the grip, and the throw type, or whatever I said before, everything has to be the same. Okay, or else if one is like, and there you go. Okay, or if you do like a full and that, it's gonna sound a little different instead of having. So it's really difficult, but if you practice with that kind of mindset, even if there is a little bit of difference between like there's slight differences in the overtone series that you'll hear, but as long as the speed and weight stay the same, at the very least, you'll get a similar color, okay? And then if overtones happen, they're not as noticeable unless you're playing like super slow, like. Okay, so those are four, like almost dead on. I was hoping I was gonna mess up. So I would mess up on purpose. Cool. All right. So you need to make sure they're good. All right, and then let's see. So that's full strokes, and you gotta practice downstrokes. Downstrokes are dangerous. I always say downstrokes are dangerous. You need to make sure they rebound, okay? Okay, so you'll see it go bounce into a tap position. Okay? So it's not like it's instead of that. Cool, where it kind of sticks and then lifts, it just lifts. So it doesn't, you get the idea? Okay, cool. Downstrokes, and then do that in all the positions you have, and then upstrokes. I do upstrokes very. I always do upstrokes really extreme. So I will practice them slow first, just so you can get the motion of dropping. So I would start first with, of course, starting at a tap position, dropping it, and letting it sit, and then lifting off to practice those different movements. So let it drop and lift. Tap position, let it drop, lift. And then you practice drop, lift. Drop, lift. Drop, lift. Cool? Drop, lift. And then practice that, of course, then drop, lift, 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 whoop, lift. Cool. I love, even if it's a slow, like, I just love lifting on triangle. I rarely, honestly, I think more often than not, I'm doing upstrokes on triangle than I'm doing downs. Definitely for downs, and sometimes fulls. Especially on single notes, I treat triangle like I treat timpani. I basically lift everything. So I'm doing upstrokes a lot. Cool? So that's that. Oh, I forget. Actually holding the triangle. So there are a couple of things. People usually, like, you hold a cup like that. So you just sit the triangle clip on a cup, like a cup hold. Cool? This triangle clip is kind of cool because there's this hole here that you can put your thumb through. So you get to do that. And then you have like all of these comfortably where they can hold the tambourine, the triangle. Cool. Conversely, there's I wonder if I have it up here. You know the Amy Putnam triangle clip. Oh, there it is. I mean, not Amy Putnam. Stubbs, sorry, Putnam. Amy Stubbs. So it's this triangle clip where you can, this opening goes on the music stand, and you basically hold it the same way. You can either have it here, or some people have their first finger up here just for other comfort, and then they have all three fingers and the thumb available as well. And people like this one because it has that cushion up there for your fingers. This feels nice. Cool. And I like this clip because you have an actual clip where you can stick it on the music stand. So, and there's a bunch of others. There's like, I think Grover has one where I think it's just like wood. And yeah, a lot of different options. Freer has one that's similar to this. It's, I think, if I remember correctly, it's basically just the clip and so it's a combination of these two, which is kind of cool. All right. And then triangle beaters. We can go all day with triangle beaters, but I usually like nicely weighted triangle beaters. Similarly to the way I like drumsticks and timpani mallets, is a nice balanced weight where I can feel the weight at the top and control it from the back. Cool. So believe it or not, I will say there are some unbalanced triangle beaters where it just feels like no matter what I do, the balance isn't transferred to the top. So I don't use those. But these for sure, they also have, Black Swamp also has in this material 3 others that are basically this size but without the taper at the top. So there's 3 different sizes, which is really cool. All right? Okay, so then we practice playing on the inside. So when you have to do that kind of stuff instead of, obviously you should be practicing that too. Or and that's why I like having it back here, so it moves as quickly with my hand and wrist. If I'm just holding it up here, I have all that extra, so Like I can do it, but it's just a little more effort up here with pressure. Whereas if I have here, I can just let my wrists twitch. And then I can start doing the molar stuff and yeah. Cool? All right. So, playing on the inside. This is why I hold it basically here all the time, because if I have to play on the inside, I'm already there. Cool? So if I'm playing basically here already, I have access to the top. And that's one thing you need to consider whenever you're using a triangle beater like this, because of the different sizes. So if you're playing on the fatty part here and you're doing an upstroke, it's playing on the thinner part. So you need to make sure that you're playing on the same axis, basically. So I don't have my other black swamp one, so I'll use one of my Stessels. Let's see. So in that case, I don't. Let's see. Here we go. I'll use the dragonfly one. So then people would go to this type of beater, which I don't have the black swamp one yet, but this one's a dragonfly. So, and it's made as a Stessel beater, which most people know, so I won't go into the history of Stessel beaters. But, so you can at least see one. Where's my favorite one? Here we go, okay. So this is a really old Stessel beater. I think this was a yellow, I think. So then we go to this type of beater. So no matter where you hit, it's going to hit on a similar surface because it's, you know, it's that way. So I would start off with where you're comfortable, where your normal, if your normal's here, then start moving up to here so you can figure out what a comfortable position is first. And then move a little more into the triangle. I keep wanting to say tambourine. So move a little bit more into the triangle so you have more access to the opening, if you can see that. Okay, and then you got to practice a lot of upstrokes. So I would start off with just moving really slow and touching the triangle and then going back down. That's how I would start. Just so you can like stay as relaxed as possible and just learn the movement and the motion going up. And I would actually like stick the triangle beater on the triangle just so you can feel the contact and get used to feeling the contact, okay? Cool. And then I would do it, first I would do it like, depending on how comfortable you are with moving very small movements, I might start doing a really large movement, so like maybe staying all the way back here, and then, so you can, cool, all right. And then I would start in the center, wherever in between those two spots, and then just same kind of thing. And then I combine the two. This one's a little more difficult because you're trying to keep the movement smooth, similar to one of those Instagram posts that I did. So cool. So that's splitting them apart. Then I would do them separately. Obviously, you've already done down, so I would focus just on up. And then coming back to either the tap position or the center. And then, so hopefully you can see that. So first I'm starting in like a tap position for down, and then going all the way up, and stopping at the tap, and then moving a little farther up for like an in-between. And I'm just doing upstrokes. And obviously I would muffle the triangle so you're not killing your, okay? So you're not killing your ears. Then I would do all the stroke types. So full stroke, which you've already been practicing, just getting used to the movement. Then downstrokes, which you've almost already been practicing with the sticking thing. So you're just letting it bounce off. So hopefully you can see that. Yep. Cool. And then upstrokes are really weird, so do them really slow. Because basically instead of like letting go, you're initiating and dropping all the way down. So that one's going to be weird, so take your time on that one. Honestly, you don't necessarily need it, but it's good to train and to teach your body how to do, because it smooths out just cool. Okay, so once you figure out all those motions, then you start doing exercises. So you could do like 8 on a hand, and then 16ths where you start up. So you could do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 16ths going up first. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, then 8 up. Cool. And as you can hear, my upstrokes aren't as loud as my downs. So that means you have to either soften the down or increase the up. Me personally, I soften the down. So I do a little bit of both. I soften my downstroke and just slightly increase the upstroke. Cool. So do it that slow or slower so you can really be deliberate. Because once you hear, you can't really, you can hear it a little bit, but cool. So be deliberate while you can. So triplets and 16ths, things like that. Practice your upstrokes like crazy. That's the only way this is going to get better. Cool. Similarly, I do the same things, like I'm making sure my shoulders are relaxed, that I can feel the floor beneath my feet, that I'm completely using all of my weight. And oh, as far as holding the triangle, you want to make sure like that you're not like hoisting it up. It should feel like you're just doing this with your hand and you just have extra weight there. So you're just getting used to relaxing and letting this weight become a part of your body. So some people feel more comfortable like with the triangle like this, where their wrist is completely straight. Other people feel comfortable with it like this, where the wrist is, where the thumb is in line with the arm, so you see that. Other people like something in between. I'm more in between than anything else. Because here it feels too crunched in the back. So you see that? It just feels like it's doing like that. And it doesn't feel good. So I do something more here. So you want to make sure, I would just maybe take 2 minutes and just hold the triangle up and find like where it feels comfortable. Honestly, it feels comfortable here because I'm not doing anything. But this, if I had it my way, I would just play triangle like this all day because this is the most comfortable position. However, it's a very visual instrument, so I have to hold it higher because that's just how it is. And also it's a sound thing. If it's all the way down here, usually my stand is like right in front of it. So even though this would be the most efficient place to hold it, like I could do everything here. However, I have a stand here, I have other instruments maybe here, so I have to hold it higher to make sure it could be heard and be seen. So that's a thing. So you have to learn what's a comfortable position for you to be heard / seen with the triangle. Also, I'm a little shorter than usual, so my comfortable high is still too low sometimes. I've had conductors say, "Oh, hold the triangle higher," and I'm like, "Okay, position 2." Like, so then I have like 3 positions. Here's where I really want to hold it. Here's where I've trained myself to hold it for visual and audible reasons. And then here is where, like, if the conductor asks me to hold it higher, I can position my shoulder in a certain way to keep it relaxed. It's still a little tense because of the amount of weight over here that's increased by the triangle, so I can't hold it there too long. So I'll gradually come back down after a while, okay? So that's just efficiency and making sure you're not straining to hold the triangle. So find your comfort high. Which I would say is basically hand or the top of the thumb is shoulder height, usually. So something in that regard, start with. And then just learn how to sit there. Because this is, depending on how heavy the triangle is and all that stuff, it's going to be a little taxing. So just practice holding it, okay, and being comfortable just sitting there. And then get comfortable moving the fingers without tensing the structure. So you can have access to the fingers to meet the triangle, okay? Cool. All right, rolls. You got to practice this, and it's a very loose. So with single articulate, the stick is very rigid in my hand, so it has to move with it. When I start rolling, I let it bounce a lot in. So I let it. If you could see that movement of my pinky muscle. The stick is basically doing that to it because it's like I'm letting it move in the back, so it's doing that instead of like me sticking my pinky there and making sure it moves exactly. So it's instead of this movement, you see that go on. Cool. And so instead of that, you see that. So that's another reason I hold it there, so I can have more control up here to make sure it moves fast enough, but it's loose in the back so it rebounds really quickly. Reason I do that is because if you roll, you don't want to have it like, you just hear digga 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 instead of a looser, softer attack. Oh, sorry. So you have that instead of, it's a slight difference. Oh. So you can hear the dynamic level decrease a little bit. Also, the articulation decrease a little bit as well. And I do the same thing with timpani. You attack and then just let it ring with just keeping the vibrations going. So instead of having with that articulate sound, you're gonna have it so you don't hear the articulation as much. It just cushions it. Cool. And honestly, I rarely do rolls out here. I normally stay pretty here or a little bit there. If you can see that, I stay very close to here a lot because I like having control over. If you're out here, you're activating a lot of the triangle, and that's hard to control. So I usually activate it here so I can control how much vibrations there are. If I'm out here, you get, so you have all that too much high-pitched overtone. So I try to keep it level and not too abrasive. Cool. Then you do grace notes, which is a combination of flams. Usually people do up down. So for flam they do up down, or the opposite way. Oops. I like doing up down because you have da da. So it just depends on what I'm feeling. Sometimes I'll do like going up, so swooping up. Also, it's probably good as well because if you're doing down up, it's essentially an upstroke because you're dropping and then lifting. So you're drop lifting, you know. So that's your upstroke. So if you're doing something where it's very quick, I would do down up. If you're doing a very open, like that kind of flam, then I would do up down. It's very deliberate. So if you want a deliberate grace note, I would do up down. If you want more quick, I do down up. Cool. And then roughs, down up down. And I would do that just because it's again kind of like a upstroke where you let it go, lift up, and then attack the last one. Cool. Then triple ones, you have to practice that. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And for that one, you can also go from more inside the triangle to do that. So you're kind of going more in to increase the height. I wouldn't do it that extreme, but that's basically what you're doing. So I haven't had to do that in a while. So I would practice flams for sure, roughs for sure. The triple one I would practice, yes. But that one I haven't come across as often. I wouldn't really do down, up because the last note isn't as strong. If that feels the most comfortable to you, then do that. But for my body and my way of playing, up, down works better. Cool. Yeah, so that's triangle. The other things would be like different triangles to use. You have all the Black Swamp ones are you can listen to. I really like the sound of these. They're very. I like how they have a nice tone, but they always have overtones attached to them. Whereas like an Abel, it's very clear and pitchy. So pitchy in the sense that it's a very high pitch that's very constant. So I don't use that one as much because I really gravitate towards overtones. So yeah, that's just me personally. I like a lot of overtones and a lot of ring. So yeah, practice these like 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. I would even just hold. And just, so don't kill your ears. Cool. All right. Anybody got any other questions before I depart? What time is it? I wonder if I can see the time. I cannot see the time. Okay. Well, yeah, I have to go to work now. So I said this would be quick, so hopefully it was. I don't know if it was or not. But yeah, thanks for watching. I will post this on YouTube tonight. Yeah, that's triangle. There's not a lot with triangle. It's just making sure the touch is the most important thing. If the touch is bad, you're going to get bad sounds on the triangle. Similar to timpani. It's a very testy instrument. So, and I usually, when I'm assigning parts here, I usually go towards triangle because I love playing triangle. But I also have all of these sounds that are very particular that I want for certain things. So I always like, okay, I'll play it. And like if we're ever doing Mahler, I'm always torn between cymbals and triangle because I have so many like, I want the cymbals to sound like this, but I also want the triangle to sound like this. So I usually pick triangle for Mahler because triangle is more present in some of his symphonies. Like the first symphony, for instance, triangle is like the first thing you hear from the percussion section. So I was like, oh, I'll play triangle. Da, 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 dee. Case in point, like, okay, now I'm ranting again. Case in point, actually, I wouldn't use this one. I use the bronze one, probably. Yeah, use this one. So here's another Black Swamp one, which I think this was the first one I bought, actually. So first, if you know the first movement of Mahler 1, yeah, da 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 dee da 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 da. It's just like, happy-go-lucky thing. So if you're like da 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 da, it's not going to sound appropriate. So I mean, a full stroke might be good. Da, 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 da. That might work. I think I use a downstroke for that one, and it's a very slow up. So I think I do da, 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 da. That's the one I do. I love just, it's great. So yeah, so case in point, touch is really important. And then that might be a little too pitchy for that. Too high pitched for it, too much overtones. Just, you have to find the right balance of what's going to sound right for that moment. So I think for this one, for this triangle, I played it right in the middle and just a little like that angle and down. I wish I had my smaller one because it's so, like I have a really old triangle that I don't know where it came from, actually. Where is it? Or actually, instead of that, I'll show you the opposite direction. Like, I would definitely use that triangle. One triangle I wouldn't use is this one for that moment. You probably already know why. I like this triangle for Shasti. This is a great triangle for Shasti. But like it's the tone is just too low for that moment. So okay. Cool. All right, I'm gonna go to work now, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys very soon. I'll post this on I'll share this on Facebook and post it on YouTube, and do another one soon, hopefully. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys. Bye.